Alright, this is a quick video on meiosis. Now, in this video, I'm going to give a brief explanation as to why meiosis is important, as well as the two different meiotic divisions that occur in each of the respective sexes. Okay, so first, let's go ahead and take about a couple minutes and describe why meiosis is important. Now, when we talked about mitosis, which was a cell division in which one parent cell became two daughter cells. Now, those two daughter cells were genetically identical. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just pick, you know, uh, these two chromosomes right here. Okay, well, what happened is during mitosis, or during the synthesis phase of the cell cycle, that copy was made of the DNA, and then when the cells split, you'd have one set go there and one set go there, and before that, um, oops, before that, what's it called? The cell division had occurred, the genetic information inside of the cell is just, two chromatids, okay? And then once the division has occurred, then each cell also now has genetically identical the same chromatids. Now that's with mitosis. With meiosis, we have something different going on because there's going to be an additional splitting of the cells, an additional cell division. So in it, we're going to go ahead and I'll make the cell a little more oval. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at two different chromosomes. Okay, we get the chromosome 1 from dad, since dad has the red, and chromosome 1 from mom, which should be red. Let's see if we can make that work. So this is the same chromosome. It's just one from mom, one from dad, just like we normally already knew that, right? If I asked you how you got half your genetic information, you would say half of it came from mom, half of it came from your dad. Now, what will occur is when your cells are getting ready to go under meiosis as well as mitosis, okay, you're going to have a duplication of that genetic information. So you're going to end up with another one of these and another one of these. So you're really going to end up, right now, I have 4 copies of this chromosome versus just 2 copies like I would have in a normal situation. Okay? So like in a normal cell. And when I say normal cell, I mean non-sex cell. Sex cells including gamete, sperm, and eggs. But like right now, I have the beginning cell of meiosis. In this case, if it was an egg, it would be the oogonia, okay, or if it was the sperm, it would be the spermatogonia, but that's not really important. What's important is that once that division has occurred, now I have 4 copies of this chromatid, 2 from mom, 2 from dad. Now, what will happen again, okay, so this would be the multiplication process. I'm going to have a splitting of these cells, all right? We're going to have one right here and one right here, all right? I know I'm making them kind of squarish-like, but that's okay. And as they separate, I'm going to end up with 2 of the two chromosomes, and then each chromosome comes from mom, each chromosome comes from dad. So if you look, this cell right here and this cell right here are pretty much identical, okay? Now the problem with that is if this was a sperm, okay? Okay, that's a square-headed sperm. If that ended up being a sperm and this right here ended up being an egg, if these two things fuse together, then we'd end up with an offspring that would have 4 copies of this genetic information instead of just 2 like it should. It should only have 2. But if these two things were to come together right now and they fuse together to form a zygote, this zygote would have 4 copies of that genetic information instead of 2 like it's supposed to. So in order for this to happen correctly, we have to actually have another cell division, and that is called meiosis 2. This process right here is meiosis 1, and then what we'll do is we'll have another meiotic division. I'll try to fit this inside the square. We'll have another meiotic division. One right here, one right here, one right here, and one right here. Okay? But now, instead of having with that division, I'd have two chromosomes come off. Now I'm going to end up with one chromosome here, one chromosome here, one chromosome here, and one chromosome here. Okay? So when this second meiosis, or meiosis 2, has occurred, then I'm going to make a cell. So if I'm focusing on this cell right here, I'm going to make this cell, and you notice I only have one copy of that genetic information, which means if that guy was a little sperm, and it fused with this egg right here, if they come together, then they're going to end up having two copies of that genetic information, which is just like the original cell had two copies of genetic information. Now, obviously, one person does not make eggs and sperm, therefore you cannot impregnate yourself. So, obviously, these two cells right here, okay, these guys right here, they must come from different sources. Well, obviously, this coming from the male, and this coming from the female. Okay, but if I don't have only one copy of each chromosome in there, then I can end up with some malformations, and most likely it's going to miscarry. I need to have only two copies of genetic information. If I have more than that or less than that, I could have serious and deleterious effects to the point where the organism may not even grow. Okay, and the reason why I just kind of generalize and say organism is because this is true for any organism that is undergoing sexual reproduction. Okay, trees do this same thing. Obviously, they don't have sex; they pollinate each other through wind or through bees or hummingbirds or whatever. But the idea is the same. It's a sperm, a male gamete. Okay, this is a male gamete right here. Okay, and then we have female gamete, which is like the egg right here. They come together and they make a zygote. That zygote is then able to undergo mitosis and copy itself over and over and over. So this is kind of the big picture of what meiosis is and why it's important. Okay, it is a process of two cell divisions in order to make cells that only have one chromosome in each of the eventual daughter cells. Okay, in this case, you're going to have four daughter cells, but we'll go into more detail with that in class. But it needs to make one cell, or needs to make cells that only have one copy. It's important that only one copy is made. Okay, if this is the gamete, then when they come together, you're going to have four copies of this genetic information. That's not good. We need to only have one copy in each, so when the sperm and egg come together, they're going to form what we call a diploid cell, or having two pieces of genetic information from different sources. Okay?